Have you ever noticed that sometimes when the thing that you've been wanting for years starts to happen and you either don't even notice it, or when you finally do, you don't exactly feel relief, you feel kind of confused or lost? I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Actually, it started with a headache. The other day we went to a nature center and then a splash pad. We were with friends and family. The kids had a great time. It was one of those really full summer days. And later I noticed I was getting a headache. And my first instinct was to start investigating. Was I overwhelmed? Did I overdo it? We were around a lot of people. There was an X-class solar flare that day. Was there too much stimulation, too much energy, too much impact? And maybe some of those things contribute, or all of it. But as I sat with it, I started to realize something interesting. I don't actually feel significantly stressed right now. Hell yeah. Life is busy. We're planning birthday parties. We have more activities happening. Our kids are like older toddlers now. We're not in babyland in this trench of baby survival mode. There are these activities and commitments that come with raising a family. But underneath all of that, I don't feel like I'm constantly putting out fires. And that realization stopped me in my tracks. Because for so many years, I think a huge part of my energy and my efforts were going towards this managing, preparing, preventing, anticipating, not because anything was wrong, but because as a mom, especially a new mom, you're just more hyper vigilant about everything. And not to mention any sort of clinical postpartum ongoings, just like the normal hormonal fluctuations and just being responsible for an entire being after they just came through the Stargate Enterprise. That's a whole other thing. All that to say, that's just how a lot of us learn to move through life, especially as caregivers. As women, this is a very natural thing for us to do, but it's not like we were given a manual. And modern womanhood is just so rapidly evolving, and it's not just like a regular system being passed down to us. We see things that we learn from our mothers and people around us, but it's not a manual. It's not like this optimized situation that we're given, and that's just been going on for, I don't know. But especially if you've ever gone through a season where you genuinely were surviving, you become very good at scanning for problems. Even unconsciously, your nervous system is just, you become very good at preparing. You become very good at managing uncertainty. And then one day, life gets a little calmer. Not perfect, not stress-free, but it's like you look back and you see how your tolerance and these mommy muscles, or these muscles of stress, your nervous system and your mind and your body have increased their tolerance to managing these things. It's not perfect, it's just a little calmer. And suddenly you're left with a question that no one prepared you for. Who am I when I'm not just surviving? I've been noticing this come up in my content lately. For the past week or two, I've been diving back into self-discovery. I was doing a lot of that previously after becoming a mom because I was like so disoriented. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel untethered. I need to land on my feet here with who am I? Get back to the basics. I'm stripped down here in this trench. But I thought that I was like, I had my footing with it a little bit more. There's not a lot of space for you anymore. So it's like that great return to yourself, but there's not a lot of depth to it, So I found myself coming back to that again over the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, what is going on? I just did this. I thought I had my notes that I wrote down of who I am and who I want to be and where we're going from here. Not that there's any pressure for it, but just something to reorient myself to. And I'm like, what is going on? Why am I so lost again? And then it hit me. I'm not in survival mode anymore, or at least not entirely. The things are just a little bit calmer. These questions, what do I want to create? What direction do I want to go in? What matters to me now? And honestly, I've been treating it like a problem that needs to be solved, as if there were like some hidden answer that I hadn't found yet. But what if that's not happening? What if I'm not lost? What if I'm just simply standing in unfamiliar territory again? Because survival gives you a very clear job description. Wake up, handle the thing, solve the problem, manage the situation, get through the day. There isn't much room left over to ask these bigger questions. But when survival starts loosening its grip, something fascinating happens. Space appears. And space, as I'm finding, can feel surprisingly uncomfortable. We think we want peace, but peace creates room. And room creates questions like, what do I enjoy? What am I curious about? What do I want to build? What excites me? What feels meaningful? What kind of woman am I becoming? Those questions sound exciting, but they can also feel incredibly disorienting if you've spent years focused on responsibility, performance, or simply just getting through. I wonder if this is why so many people feel strange after healing, because I've done that before too. It just wasn't on this level. We imagine healing as if reaching a destination, but maybe healing is actually an introduction to a version of yourself that you haven't met yet, a version of yourself that isn't organized around crisis, a version of yourself that isn't fueled entirely by urgency, a version of yourself that actually gets to create instead of simply reacting. And maybe that's where I am. Maybe that's where you are too. Not fully healed, not finished, not suddenly enlightened, just standing in a space that feels unfamiliar, once again, because it isn't survival. And instead of rushing to fill that space with another project, another goal, another problem to solve, maybe the invitation is to get curious. Maybe the invitation is just to listen. Maybe the invitation is to ask, who am I becoming now? Not who I was, not who was I, not who should I be, not who do other people need me to be, but who am I becoming? Please stay asleep. Maybe it's evidence that you've finally left a place that you've outgrown. And maybe that's not something to fear. Maybe, just maybe, that's where life begins again. Thank you for sitting with me and standing with me now. This has been another Echo from the Eye of the Storm Within. See you next time.